The College Basketball Experience Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference, a.k.a. the MAAC edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with that promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 bonus in cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, into the College Basketball Experience MAAC edition, also known as MAAC. You know me, man. I love this conference. It's on Friday and Sunday, spotlight game after spotlight game. Feel like we get eyes on this league more than about 90% of the mid-majors because of their schedule going away from the crowded schedules. We're going to break down all 13 new teams, or all 13 teams, a couple newcomers, conference expansion impacting the MAAC. But yeah, first off, though, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Also known as Mac Tonight over here at the College Experience, a.k.a. MAAC Tonight. And joining me to talk MAAC, well, you guys know him from the college baseball experience, the college football experience, and, of course, the college basketball experience. He is the window banging, drywall hanging, LeBaron driving, Noah Bieniek, a.k.a. Noah B77. What's up, man? Long time no talk. I hope your weekend was well.
Yeah, what's going on, Mac? I'm hoping yours was great, too. Yeah, you talked about how we always got eyes on this conference. That didn't help my handicapping. This conference was basically impossible to pick last year, it felt like. And impossible for me to keep a 4-bar connection of Wi-Fi over here at the Bieniek household. My parents are away. The viewers today might see me just reaching at granola because I have not had dinner yet today, and the only person that's fault is mine. So I literally just got like the most college dinner going right now, and it's just a plate of granola over here next to me. But yeah, Mac, you hinted at it. We do have conference realignment actually bolstering up the MAAC here. Merrimack, the Warriors, and Sacred Heart leave the NEC, which finished 31st in like KenPom regular season rating last season, and they make the jump up to the MAAC, where they ranked 25th. And as of course, we are doing our conference previews in reverse order of power rating via KenPom from last year's final standings. Mac, in the NEC last year, Merrimack went 21-12 overall, 13-3 in conference. Sacred Heart finished, or Merrimack won the NEC, by the way. Sacred Heart finished third. They went 16-16 overall, 10-16 in the NEC. How do you think that transfers over to the MAAC? Is there going to be a noticeable step up here for both programs?
I think a step up. I think the MAAC is a notch ahead of the NEC, but I think Merrimack will translate just fine. They came over from D2 just a couple years ago. They didn't miss a beat. I think that they're still going to be in that knocking on the door of being a top tier team in this league. It may take a year of transition. I think we saw that with Mount St. Mary's making the transition over a couple years ago. So maybe they go through a little bit of the same phase, growing pains. Sacred Heart, on the other hand, they weren't the most successful program in the NEC. I think that they're going to really take it on the chin. But we did a conference expansion episode in the summer, and they graded out as our last program over the next 4 to 5 years. We thought that would have success. So that's Sacred Heart. trending downward, although in a new league. But at the same time, also, I think Merrimack will be just fine.
Yeah, I hold the same opinions as you, I believe. I think Merrimack, they've already kind of gone through this once before, 4 years ago, when they made the transition from D2 to D1 into the NEC, and they were a winning program immediately in the Northeast Conference. And then I think they'll be used to the step up in competition as just a program in general. I think that program is in a little bit of a better spot. And Sacred Heart, yeah, last year was one of their better years in years past, and they lose everybody from that team. So we're going to talk about it here on today's show. As I've kind of taken it as my duty, going back and check to see what picks we gave out on last year's preview for all of these conference previews. Matt, we slacked with the MAAC last year. All we did was do our power rankings, give out a regular season winner. We didn't do tournament champ. We didn't do sleeper or dark horse. But holy shit, neither of our predictions were that great. I had Ryder. The Bronx finished 12-8 in conference, tied for third, but it was a three-way tie for third. So technically you could have said they were fifth. And then you picked Niagara, the Purple Eagles. They finished 11-9 in conference, 16-16 overall, and they finished sixth. So we need to step up our game a little bit in this one, but neither of us are claiming to be MAAC savants. As I struggled on Friday nights picking this conference.
I was good at picking the individual games because I just took the dog every time, and the dogs hit. It felt like every other game. But Niagara was frustrating though for me because they sat at 10-5 with 5 games to go. Then they lose 4 out of their 5 down the stretch. They were as hot as anybody at one point. They were in first place, but they ran out of wheels there, Greg Paulus. Now we got a couple really good former point guards. We got Greg Paulus at Niagara. We got McNamara over at Siena. Got a little bit of everything in this MAAC.
Yeah, you're shouting out coaches here. We're going to get into a great one here. First team preview that we're doing. Canisius has a new head coach. We're going to talk about it right after this break. Because Doug Stanhope, Brendan Walsh, and Sean Green are hosting the newest podcast on SGPN called Get to the Points. Every Thursday before the game, I'm assuming Thursday night football game in our read here, Doug, Brendan, and Sean will give out their favorite plays and talk a ton of shit. Doug and Brendan's professional field, they're stand-up comedians. So you may know them from the Joe Rogan podcast, the Howard Stern Show, or Comedy Central. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or watch on YouTube today. All right, we're back here on the College Basketball Experience. Myself, Noah Bieniek, and alongside me is Moneyline Mac. My Wi-Fi is crawling here, so apologies to anybody actually watching this show. But the audio is going to be perfect. Mac, the first team that we're going to begin with here is Canisius. And Canisius last season, they finished third to last in the conference. They went 8-12, 14-18 overall. The Golden Griffins decided that it was time for a change. They move on from Reggie Witherspoon at the helm, and they add Jim Christian. Mac, I think this is the biggest story here. Do you want to enlighten the people on Jimmy Christian's career? Because I think it's pretty notable as we enter the preseason.
Yeah, Jim Christian's a proven winner. I mean, you go through his track record, whether it was at Kent State, 6 straight seasons, winning 20-plus games. He got to multiple NCAA tournaments. Then he goes to Ohio, wins 49 games in 2 years. Yes, he struggled a little bit at Boston College, but let's be honest, everybody has struggled at Boston College since Al Skinner. So, and to be honest, he kind of was there at the middle of the pack the last couple of years. And then at TCU, he was there for a couple of years as well. But just looking at the outside looking in with Jim Christian, he's been really good at these mid-majors. I think this is a home run hire for Canisius, and I think that they're going to be competitive right off the bat because I think they did a decent job in the portal, and they're going to play with an identity of toughness. So love him coming over from Kent State, where he was with Rob Senderoff the last couple of years. I'd give this hire an A, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they're going to come in and compete immediately. I'm right there with you. Only 4 games separated 3rd place to 10th place in this conference
Yes.
last year.
Yes.
And I don't think too much separated the Golden Griffs from Marist for what it's worth from last season. So I totally agree with you. I think Christian's going to be an excellent hire for Canisius here in the MAAC. With the new head coach in today's era of college basketball, you're going to lose quite a bit from the previous roster. They returned the 3rd least production from a season ago, 14.3% of their minutes. The biggest hit's probably Xavier Long. Trey Dinkins, who averaged 15.5 points. Frank Mitchell, 12 points in 29 minutes with 11 boards. He might have been a big hit too. Averaged double-double last year. Taj Stavesky, 10.5 points, 4 boards, 4.5 assists. CM Utindal, averaged 13.5 points. Yuri Fritz, Davion Williams, TJ Gadsden, Job Jones, Xavier Long, who I already said. All of those guys transfer out. Bryce Akpo out of eligibility. Coming in via transfer portal, they're getting Anthony Bernard from Mercer. Played 16.5 minutes a season ago. Averaged 2 assists in that limited time. Looking for a little bit more of an expanded role. Paul McMillan IV, coming in from Central Michigan. Not a bad guard at all. Averaged 8.3 points per game and 22 minutes per game for the Chips right here in my backyard. Gianni Thompson, coming in from UMass. Frank's Minimint, who he didn't play last season due to injury. In 2022-23, he only played 5 minutes per game. So not sure what we're going to see from Gianni Thompson. But today I'm using Jim Root's roster sheet, and he's projecting him as a starter. And then Jasmine Sanga is going to round up the projected starting 5 here as a big man, 6'8" graduate senior. Played almost 15 minutes a game last year for Cal State Northridge. Averaged 6.5 points, 2.5 boards. Had a 56.7% field goal percentage. One more transfer from Long Island, Tana Copa, the Long Island fucking Sharks. He averaged 12 points per game for them last season. One notable name that does return from last year's team is Cam Peless. Averaged 25 minutes a game, 6.8 points per game. Shot at 31.5% from 3. The roster doesn't blow me away, but I do think that they're going to be competitive. They bring in a prolific JUCO scorer from Allegheny, Maryland, Tyson Oganey, who averaged 20 points per game, 5.5 boards, 1.5 assists, and also 2 more JUCO transfer gets in William Scott Jr. and Dylan Godfrey. So, Mac, we talked a little bit about Jim Christian, how we just think he's going to be able to raise the floor here. What kind of ceiling do you think this roster provides?
I think that they can compete for the league. And to your point of being able, not much separates this league. We had 2 interim coaches last year win the league. Tom Pecora taking over at Quinnipiac. They win the league outright. Right on his heels was Chris Casey, who got the job right before the season, middle of October at Fairfield. So it can be done in the MAAC. That's why I love this league. It's such a year-to-year league, and that's why you don't really see much dominance other than Iona. But even Iona's come back to the pack over the last couple of years. So
baby, Tobin's killing it.
Yeah, your guy Tobin. It's hey man, I'm going to bank on Jim Christian here. I think that they're going to be in the top half. I think he's going to change the culture there, and I think that they're going to be on the positive side of some of these one-score games in year number 1. I think they get better and better, and they buy in.
All righty. The next team that we're going to move over to is the Fairfield Stags. Last season, yes, sir, we had him on the preseason coaches tour that MAAC has been interviewing a bunch of mid-major head coaches. Go over there, check them out. We had a couple on from this conference, correct, Mac?
Yeah, we had Coach Casey, and then we had Donnie Lynn from the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers.
Awesome. So Yeah, Fairfield last year, like Mac mentioned previously, like a minute ago, they finished second in this league, 14-6 in conference, which was 2 games ahead of the third place finisher. Fairfield and Quinnipiac kind of separated themselves from the pack. And Fairfield was 24-13 overall last year under the interim head coach, who's now the full-time head coach, Chris Casey. So departing from this team, a couple of big hits, and Jalen Leach, who averaged 16 points per game, 4 boards, 3 assists, 1.8 steals per game in 33 minutes. Also, Jasper Floyd, who played 32.5 minutes, 9.5 points, 5.5 boards, 4 assists, 2.5 steals per game. And then Caleb Fields, who played 32 minutes a game, 12 points per game, 3 rebounds, 5.8 assists per game. Those 3 major contributors to this team. Caleb Fields out of eligibility. The other 2 have transferred out. James Johns Jr. played 14.5 points, is transferred out. Jack Brown, Maruf Mamouni, Anthony Davis Jr., Bryson Godine, who played 25.9 minutes per game, averaged 14 points per game last season. They all transferred out, and Alex Yetna is also out of eligibility. Incoming on this roster from Loyola, Maryland, who averaged 17.5 points per game last year, Dion Perry played 33 minutes per game for the Greyhound, averaged 3 assists per game, shooting 35% from deep. Also, to pair with him in the backcourt is Prophet Johnson from Southern Utah, who averaged 8.7 points per game, 4 boards in 25.5 minutes for the Thunderbirds. Coming in from Lafayette, Kyle Jenkins, who averaged 29.5 points per game, 29.5 minutes per game, 9 points per game, 4.3 boards. Jamie Bergens, who comes in from Drexel, played 18 minutes for the Dragons last season. Noah Best from Fordham, Makui Riek from Milwaukee, and then Braden Sparks from the JUCO Indian Hills. He averaged 11.5 points there, 3.5 boards, 3.7 assists. Fairfield brings back, or I wouldn't say brings back. They did really well in the transfer portal. They get a lot of guys that played a lot of minutes last season. I think this is one of your better backcourts that you're going to see in the MAAC with 2 juniors and a graduate senior. I think Fairfield's another team, or not another team. This is the second team we're talking about. I think they're a conference title contender, Mac. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that they were able to survive just that chaotic year that they're coming off where Casey gets the job middle of October. They buy in, they get hot in league play. They come a hair short of winning the title. They lose in the conference championship. My only concern is they lost so much in terms of leadership, and I like the talent that they're bringing in, the portal class. I still think I'm with you that they should be in the top half, but do some of these games even out like we always see in this crazy league where they were on the right side of a lot of close games? Do they find themselves on the wrong side? So I think that they're definitely from a roster standpoint top half of the league, and Coach Casey will get them to buy in once again.
100%. They bring back, like Hasty's saying, a lot of these transfers coming in from good programs. They're the second most experienced team entering the preseason as well in the MAAC. So Fairfield, I think, is a team we should be a little bit higher on this season. As last year, I don't think the outlook was so pretty, and they finished second. So I'm not going to doubt Casey's coaching chops. Before we get to the next team here that we're going to talk about on the MAAC basketball preview, we're going to talk a little bit about Underdog Fantasy because the NFL season has begun and they're always adding new things to their awesome menu. They now have first touchdown projections. There's many ways to win on Underdog Fantasy: NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, NHL, college basketball, and way more. Their lobby is jam-packed with profit boosts and no sweat entries all the time. And now you can use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Sign up today with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. And we're back here on the college basketball experience talking MAAC basketball. Doing the conference preview here, we just talked about Canisius and Fairfield. We're going to move on to, I would say, they've kind of ran the conference in years past. MAAC said earlier that they've taken a step back. Myself, I'm not too surprised about that with the guy that they have at the helm. I don't know. Honestly, I'm just happy that the 1 year went wrong. Now they can be fine. Tobin Anderson entering his second year with the Iona Gaels. Last year did not meet up to par with expectations. 10-10 in conference, 16-17 overall for Iona. I can't really remember the last time they were under or didn't have a winning record in conference. I should say that. Nobody returns from this roster. So, MAAC, I ask you, bias aside, because I know you don't have any against him. It's just me because they beat Purdue, and then he threw a fit against Florida Atlantic. How good of a coach do you think Tobin is? Do you think that he'll be able to repair this roster and turn them into a winning bunch?
Yeah, I still think he's a good coach. I mean, he won at Clarkson, he won at Hamilton, he won at St. Thomas Aquinas, and then of course he was able to get hot at Fairleigh Dickinson. But hey, that was, like you said, an underachieving year last year, all things considered. They're not used to losing at Iona. You look at the track record. Patino had a winning record at the top all those years. He was there. Tim Cluse as well. So this is a little bit of a pressure year for Tobin Anderson, in my opinion. That Iona, resources-wise, does not belong seventh in this league. So this should be a top 4 program again. But yes, a lot of pressure on them coming into this year. And their roster still is at the top of the league, even with all the new faces.
Yeah. I think, my initial question, yes, I know we poked fun at Purdue losing to the 16 seed, and I've always that's been my bit to hate on Tobin, but he didn't win the conference, and then he goes on the little magic run in March, and then he skips town from Fairleigh Dickinson to Iona. That was my entire thing, is like, okay, he won for 1 year at the D1 level, and then he gets the Iona job. That was a huge step up, in my opinion. So there are a lot of resources here. And it's just whether he's going to be able to recruit with a lot of, I would say, just the ability to bring in better talent than a lot of these other programs in the MAAC. And no, I was not joking. They literally returned 0% of their minutes from a season ago. It's all freshmen. They do bring in 6 transfer portal gets. St. Joe's guard Christian Winborn's projected to be the starting point guard by Jim Root here. He's a junior, 6'2", played 14 minutes a game for the Hawks last season, 3.3 points, 2 boards, 1.5 assists per game, shot at 54.5% from the field when he was on the floor. Dior Reeves comes in from Northern Colorado, and he was another big-time point scorer with the Bears. We saw this. I'm not, in no way am I comparing him to Dalton Connect, but, I'm just going to throw it out there that Connect was a monster scorer for the Bears, and this kid was too. Averaged 15 points per game, 3.5 boards, 1.5 assists, almost 2 steals a game. Shot at 44% from the field, 36% from deep. Played just under 30 minutes a game last season. So I think they're going to expect him to be a big-time scorer for the Gaels this year. James Patterson comes in from D2 St. Thomas Aquinas, also kind of in my backyard here in Michigan. Averaged 24 points per game, 8.5 boards, 1.5 assists, almost 2 steals as well. Solid shooter. Luke Youngers from Nebraska, Omaha. Played 12 minutes per game, shot at almost 35% from deep. Clarence Rupert, 6'8" senior from Southern Illinois, 56% field goal percentage, almost 21 minutes a game, 7.5 points, 5.5 boards. And then Jalen Barr from D2 Flagler. Jim Root notes that he was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in the conference before making this move to D1. And then Yafet Mundi coming in from JUCO Panola, 14.5 points per game, 10.5 boards, over 1 block per game. And then Kernan Bundy coming in from Hutchinson JUCO, 10.5 points, 3.5 boards, 1.5 assists. Look, I think this is like, if you want to buy into the Iona brand, that they have some of the top tier talent, this should be a title contender. I'm not there. I'm putting them in the middle of the pack, Mac.
I think I'm in between you. I'm in between you and then expectations. Roster wise, they have the best portal class, in my opinion, coming in from the MAAC. But they don't have a lot of production coming back, and some of these other teams do compared to them. Tobin, it's definitely a prove-it year for him. I'll bank on the brand to be in the top 4, but I don't think I can put him at the top. I think there's too many question marks for me with these Gaels compared to years past under Patino and Cluse.
100%. Let's move on to Manhattan Jaspers. Last season, it was
Gallagher.
This was John Gallagher's first full season, second season in Manhattan, correct? The whole Manhattan drama was 2 years ago, technically.
Yeah, they had the interim 2 years ago, so this was his first.
So yeah,
this was his first year with the program. But yeah,
I think he was an assistant. I thought he was the interim, but I could be wrong.
He was at Hartford before that.
Yeah, I know, but I thought he landed with Manhattan as an assistant. And then,
no, they wanted the assistant that coached him to be the head coach, and they went with Gallagher instead because of his proven track record.
Gotcha, and that's what caused all the mayhem,
drama. Yeah,
that makes sense. So they were 7-23 overall last season, 4-16 in conference. But I mean, he was a winner with Hartford. I want to believe in Gallagher as well. This is another good track record coach. Hartford was not a winning basketball program until he kind of made it into one. Mac, is that kind of how you feel about Gallagher as well?
I think he's a really good coach. Yeah, he got absolutely screwed by those cowards at Hartford, canceling their program after they'd just gone to the NCAA tournament. A bunch of idiots, to be quite frank. But he's a good coach. You look at his last 5 years there: 19 wins, 18 wins, 18, 15-9, the bubble year, and unfortunately, his last year they were 12-20, but 9-9 in league play in a rebuilding year. He built that thing up, and unfortunately, they canceled that because of whatever reasons at that school. But yeah, he goes over to Manhattan. He did the same rebuild. I think they're a year away from competing in this league, but I think they definitely take a step up with Gallagher.
Okay. So they didn't add a ton from the portal. They did lose quite a bit to the portal. This year, Manhattan, they returned 46.1% of their minutes, which is actually the 4th most in conference. But they lose 3 double-digit scorers, 3 guys that played 25 minutes per game or more. DeJuan Clayton gone, 25 minutes per game, 11 points per game, 3.5 boards, 3 assists. Daniel Ruzan, 29.7 minutes per game, 11.5 points, 4.5 boards, just under 2 assists per game. And a guy that I don't think they planned on losing this year, coming into the preseason, was Sedu Traore. This is a guy that transferred out pretty late into the cycle, played over 30 minutes a game for them last year, 11.8 points per game, 8.2 boards, 2.5 assists, 1.5 steals per game. That's a gigantic hit. Logan Paget, Lorenzo Washington, Jinyi Lee, Bryce Stokes, Rokas Yoshis, Briggs McLean, and Perry Cowan, all no longer on this roster either. 3 transfers coming in. Devin Dinkins from George Mason. He redshirted in 2023 3, 4 last season. But in 2022-23, played 11 and a half minutes for the Patriots. They also get Amon Sandu from Monmouth, and then Messiah Gilliard from Blinn JUCO down in Texas. So 13 and a half points per game, 8 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game. Coming up to Manhattan. That's a little bit of a culture shock from the College Station area. But so they do return 3 guys that played 30 minutes a game last season. They returned their leading scorer, Shaquille Bender, who played 32 minutes a game, almost 14 points a game, 3 boards, 1.5 assists. And they returned Jane Winston, who had 5 assists per game in just under 35 minutes a game, 9.3 points, 3.9 rebounds. Sorry. The shooting is a little bit of the weakness of this team right now. But you've got a great distributor. Shaquille Bender can drive it really well. And it's a young front court. So I'm kind of all over the place with Manhattan. I want to be high on them, but I don't think I can. Mac, how do you feel?
It depends if you're gonna just blindly buy into Gallagher, getting the most out of him. I think 4-16 last year. I think they could jump up to maybe 6, 7 wins this year in league play. So a step forward is what I'm thinking. I don't think that they're going to jump into the top half, but maybe get on the right side of a bunch of one-score games like we talked about in this league. They could be in the middle of the pack. I do like those guys that are coming back that all played 30-plus minutes, another year in the system. But yeah, I'm not crazy on it, but I definitely think they'll be a little bit improved. They got better, and they were competitive down the stretch last year in the last 5-6 games of February, despite being shorthanded.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can confidently say that this team got better because I think they're younger than they were last year. And they lose 3 double-digit scores, but they return their leading scorer. They return their point guard who had 5 assists per game as a freshman last year. So if he takes a step up, I think the backcourt could be good. Elijah Curry being a freshman in the front court, a little bit nerving to me at least. But this is a team that, like I said, I want to be high on. We'll see where they fall in my final preseason rankings. Before we get to those preseason rankings and the rest of the teams here on today's MAAC basketball preview, let me talk to you about BetUS because they are the best in the business. They've been around for more than 30 years. You can easily deposit using cryptocurrency, and you can get lightning fast payouts when you want to cash out. Support SGPN and get yourself another great book by signing up at BetUS. Use our link to sign up today and get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. And SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions on betting money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model or copy one of the top performing ones from the leaderboard, and Rhythm will give you the predictions for every game and player prop. And also, there's a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And we are back here on the College Basketball Experience. Home free today, previewing the MAAC Basketball Conference. We're going to move on to the Marist Red Foxes here, where last season they finished tied for 3rd in the conference at 12-8, 3-way tie there, 18-13 overall for the Red Foxes and John Dunn. Honestly, this team stays pretty intact. They only lose a couple of guys to the portal. These guys return the most minutes from a season ago. 54.7% of their minutes do return. The one big hit was Max Allen II, 22.5 minutes, 11.5 points, 3.8 boards, 1.9 assists. But you're also, along with that Cam Ferris, who played 16 minutes a season ago, Noah Harris, who played 14 minutes, Isaiah Bricknew, who played 22, Javon Cooley, who played 24.8 minutes a game, and Isaiah Sulak. They've all transferred out or are out of eligibility. Coming back, Josh Pasquarelli, who put up 10.7 points per game, 3 boards per game, shot at 37.8%, played 27 minutes per game last season. His backcourt duo partner, also in the same sophomore class, is Jaden Collins-Roberts, who had 3 assists, over 1.5 steals per game, 3.7 boards, 9 points per game. He shot at 45.7% from the field. One transfer that they do bring in from D2 Adelphi was Elijah Lewis, who played 31 minutes a game, 16.7 points per game, 3.5 boards, just under 2 assists per game, shot at 51% from the field, 40% from 3. Mac, this is a team that I think the backcourt's young, but I think it's one they both started last year as freshmen, and this was a good team last year. I think that's the only weakness on this team is the youth in the backcourt. There is lack of experience in the front court, but they're juniors, seniors that are making up those minutes coming into this year. I believe that John Dunn and the Red Foxes could be right back in the same spot this year as they were last year.
Yeah, John Dunn. You look at Torvik. They're at the top of the returning minutes sections of that rankings. Dunn's finished in the top 5, 3 out of the last 4 years in this conference. I'm with you. I think it's a top 5 team, top 4 team. I think what's not to like? They got experience coming back. Their backcourt's a year older. I think they'll be right there contending for the league.
I agree. And this is a really defensive minded program. You look at last year, they weren't one of your best, most efficient offenses. They were third to last, actually 9th, but they had the second best defensive efficiency according to KenPom. This is a team that doesn't need to put up a ton of points because they will rely on slowing the game down and dragging it out. They had the slowest tempo in the conference last year, and they relied on the low-scoring slugfests in their via ways of victory.
They won a bunch of close games that way, and I mean, sign of a good, well-coached team.
100%. Speaking of, let's move on to the Merrimack Warriors, who won the NEC a season ago, and Joe Gallo returns as the head coach here. They, unlike Sacred Heart, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, they do not lose much at all. They return 51% of their minutes from a season ago. That's the third most here in the conference, and they're also the third most experienced in the MAAC. This is a team that, we were high on them when they made the transition from D2 to D1. I want to be high on them when they make the transition from NAC to MAAC. The only contributor that they lose from last season was their leading scorer. It's just one small but big hit. Jordan Durkak is out. 33 minutes a game, 17 points per game, 6 boards, 3.9 assists, over 2 steals. He transfers out. Jaden Battle also transfers out alongside Ryan Isaacson. And then Samba Diallo, Jordan McCoy, and Jacob O'Connell all move on from the program out of eligibility. All of them played over 15 minutes a game a season ago. But I think there are good things ahead for Merrimack, honestly. They do replace some of the production. Like, you're not going to possibly find the leading scorer, I don't think. But Malik Edmead from Albany, last year he sat out due to injury, I believe. But he played 17 minutes 2 seasons ago during his true sophomore year. Shot at 38.5% from 3. Sean Trumper comes in from D2 Franklin Pierce, averaged 19 points per game and 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 1 steal a season ago. D3 transfer from Connecticut College, David Murray, who's played 30 minutes a game last season, 17.5 points, 9 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1.3 steals, over 2 blocks a game last season, shot at 58%. This guy's a tank. As Jim Root notes, he's a 245-pound hoss at 6'7". And then to round out the transfer portal haul, Matt Becht, a graduate senior who played 34 minutes last season for Southern New Hampshire, shot at 44.8% from 3, 16.5 points per game, 3.8 boards, 2.5 assists, over a steal per game as well. Merrimack is a team that I want to be high on. I've said it now 3 times. I think this is also a title contender this year. Again, like I might walk into the fire here not knowing how truly big of a step up it is to go from NEC winner to competing for a title in the MAAC, but I'm going to be bold enough, maybe dumb enough to predict it.
I think I'm right there with you. I like what they have. I like what they have returning. I like what Gallo's done there. I think that they're ready for this transition. I don't know if they're going to win the league in year number 1, but just the way that they've run the program over the last couple of years there, they have an identity. They're always good offensively. They're disciplined defensively. I wanted to look back. What were their common opponents? Just out of curiosity, if they played any of the MAAC teams at a conference last year. I don't think they did last year. Looking at the year before that, I don't see any. So it is kind of going in blind, like you said. But Gallo won the league, unlike Tobin Henderson at regular season. So it's
he's won the league more than 1 year too.
Yeah, I think they transitioned just fine. I like the Warriors here. I probably won't pick them to win it just because I need to see it. But I like what they bring back. I got them in my top 4.
Yeah, he won this league in 2 straight years. One of the best defenses in the league, back-to-back seasons. And I think the offense is going to be able to deliver this year. Like I said, they only lose their leading scorer. Everything else returns from a season ago. And they dominated the NEC. So I see no reason to hesitate, honestly, other than the leading scorer. But literally, I think this is a sum of all their parts is better than, all the parts kind of squad. So give me Merrimack. I'm going to be bold on them. We're going to turn to the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers. Mac, I'll let you, if you want, lead off on the Mount because you hired Donnie Lynn, or not hired. You interviewed Donnie Lynn this offseason. Mount St. Mary's hired Donnie Lynn in the offseason.
Yeah, I did not hire Donnie Lynn, but I am endorsing the hire of Donnie Lynn. Donnie Lynn comes over from Greensboro and Radford the last couple of years with Mike Jones. He's a part of that Shaka Smart coaching tree. Will Wade talked about it. He was a video guy when Will Wade he was video coordinator, my former title for Shaka. Will Wade, that staff, the final 4 years. He was at Mount St. Mary's from 2013 to 16. He knows what it takes to win at this program. He's been there when Jamie and Christian was there, when they went to the dance and had success in the NEC, now in the MAAC. I think he's going to get it going there. The question is, can he get it going this year? They're going to play a chaotic, up-tempo style of brand. That's what they've always done at the Mount and Coach Christian. So it's going to be – I'm looking forward to seeing them try and make this transition. But long-term, love the hire of Donnie Lynn coming home to Mount St. Mary's.
Yeah, watching that interview, it makes me have a positive outlook for the future. But they do lose 4 starters from last year's team. I don't know about I'm struggling to find the word to describe it, but it was impressive to retain 40% of the roster from a season ago, minutes wise. But they lost 4 of the 5 starters. So they returned Xavier Lipscomb, who played 23.5 minutes, Dallas Hobbs, who played 22 minutes, Terrell Ard Jr., who played 15 minutes, Jetty Cordelia, who played 19.5 minutes, and Dola Adebayo, who played 20.8 minutes per game. All of them shot relatively well when they got their opportunities. It's just they didn't play too much last year. And then Carmelo Pacheco, a D2 transfer from Virginia Wise, averaged 12.5 points per game, 3 boards, 2.5 assists. Shot the ball 43.5% from 3. Jim Roots projected him to be in the starting 5 this season. They do have 2 other big time scores from the JUCO ranks coming in. Javon Irvin from Peninsula Junior College, 19 points per game, 4.5 boards, 3.5 assists. And then Arlandis Keys, who scored 12.7 points per game, 4 boards, almost 4 assists per game from Ellsworth. So this is a team that they're going to have to find their offense from new pieces, and all around this is going to be a little bit of a change. But I am going to say I don't think the ceiling's very high. But I don't know if I'm going to have them in the basement.
Yeah, no, I think they're better than the basement. I think maybe in that 7 to 9 range, maybe 8 to 10. I think like many first year head coaches, they take a little bit on the chin there in November, December, but get better and better, and then they're playing their best ball come February.
Yeah. Speaking of November, December, what is it? Oh, the schedule's not in on Torvik. They've got 4 games
MAAC,
that
baby.
they've announced: Maryland, Georgetown, Miami, Florida, and George Mason, all road games. So, all right. Next up, we're going to talk about the Niagara Purple Eagles. Last year, they finished 6th in conference, 11-9, 16-16 overall for Greg Paulus's Purple Eagles. They had a shitload of seniors last year, and that was one reason why we were both high on them in the preseason. They're all gone. Literally, all 5 starters have left the team, and honestly, 0% of their minutes. I was going to double check that. 0% of their minutes returned from last year. So just wipe that entire team from your mind. Coming in from Tennessee Tech, Josiah Davis, who played 30.5 minutes, 12.9 points per game, 4.6 boards per game, 2.3 assists per game, shot at 50.3% from the field. Jaden Marshall, coming in from Nebraska Omaha, 18.8 minutes per game, averaged 2 rebounds per game. Justice Smith, a graduate senior from East Tennessee State, played 14 minutes a game, also averaged 2 boards. Olamide Adeladun, a senior who played 25 minutes last year at D2 Winona State, 13.5 points per game, just under 7 boards, shot at 39.4% from 3. And then Jelon Martinez, who played 9.5 minutes for UC Riverside last season. Justin Page, coming in from Cal Poly, shot at 36.7% from 3. Jahari Williamson, 35.7% three-point shooter from Valparaiso. Zion Russell, 19 minutes a game for the Northern Illinois Huskies last year. Demondre McKnight, who averaged 15.5 points per game, 4 boards, 2.5 assists for Paris Junior College. And then James Henderson Jr., a Bethune-Cookman transfer. 3 freshmen also joined the roster: AJ McBride, Landon Williams, Will Short. Look, dude, this is just roster vomit all over the place. They do have pretty good experience in the starting 5. And I would say this is a team that I got to watch play in November and December to have a really good, not even a really good feel, because this is a conference that I just don't have very good success at betting. But I think I'm going to label this team a bottom half team until I know for better.
I'm putting them right in the middle. I think Paulus has finished 5th or 6th every single year in the MAAC. I think it's more the same. I think they kind of overachieved with this group, kind of like they underachieved a little bit last year. You kind of see that sometimes where it evens out, especially in this league. I like what they brought in from pieces wise, but we got to see them mesh together. I'll have them in the middle of the pack. I think that's perfectly slotted for the Greg Pauls era at Niagara.
All righty. We move on to the regular season title winners from a
The
season ago, the
Aqueduct.
Quinnipiac Bobcats, the Aqueduct, who went 15-5 in the MAAC last season, 24-10 overall. It was very impressive campaign from this bunch, coached by Tom Pecora. And they don't lose a lot at all. Honestly, they return the second most minutes from a season ago, 52.6% of their roster do return. The only big time minute contributor that they lose is Rahards Favors, who played 17 and a half minutes, averaged 8 points per game. He transferred out alongside Nicholas Margetson, Damar Kelly, Ariane Lewis, and then Matt Belanc is out of eligibility. The only transfer that they bring in is Ryan Mabry, who played 20 minutes a game last season for Miami, Ohio. Amari Monroe returns for this team, played 27 and a half minutes a season ago, almost 13 points per game, almost 7 boards a game, almost 2 steals per game. Shot at 35.1% from 3, 47.3% from the field, and he's a 6'7" forward. That's the best player on the team returning. But they also bring back one of the best distributors in the conference, and Savion Lewis, who played 31 minutes a game season ago. Alexis Reyes, who played 27 minutes a game. Paul Otieno, who played 27 minutes a season ago. Doug Young, who played 15 minutes. Like, this roster is completely intact from a team that won the regular season a season ago, Mac.
Yeah, a lot's to like, but this seems too easy to pick them to win it. You know, this kind of feels like this is going to be the bust in the league. I do like the pieces that they come back, but give me a step back here. I don't think that they win it, but I definitely think that they're in the top tier. I mean, how can you poke holes in this? But this is Quinnipiac.
You guys, you and Colby faded the team the entire year last year. Oh, it's Quinnipiac, it's the Aqueduct. They're gonna stumble their toe, and then they just kept going, dude. And,
no, they did. They
and
didn't.
It was Niagara who stumbled their toe.
No, they choked. They choked in the 1-8 game. St. Peter's got them, and then they lost 4 in a row in February.
Yeah,
they were very streaky last year. They were very streaky. But hey, on paper, this is a good team. I'll have them in my top tier.
I'm going to respect the shit that they did last year and they pulled off. I have them as the front runner.
Nobody ever goes back-to-back in the MAAC. Don't you know this?
Iona goes back-to-back in the MAAC.
Yeah, Iona is a different brand than Quinnipiac.
Not anymore.
Oh, get out of here. One-hit wonder.
Tobin, you're talking about? Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
No, Quinnipiac. Hell of a year last year.
Let's talk about Ryder, the Bronx, under Kevin Baggett. That's how you pronounce it, right? Baggett?
Yeah, Baggett. Yeah,
Baggett. I thought it was Baggett. Second best offense a season ago. That this team a little bit on the talent. It was a mix of talent and experience. The reason why I picked them to win the regular season a season ago. They go 12-8. Finished tied for third with a 3-way tie there. They finished 15-17 overall, though. They finished 2 games under 500. They don't lose a whole lot. They lose Mervyn James, the leading scorer, 18.9 points per game in 31 minutes a season ago. 6 boards as well. Alan Paulo, who put up 10 points per game in 34 minutes, and Corey McKeithen, who scored 8 points per game in 33 minutes, alongside DJ Dudley, who played 12 minutes a season ago, Drew Cassay, JT Langston Jr. played 13 minutes, Mustafa Sano, and Anthony McCall. They don't need to replace too much, but they went out and got Zion Cruz to play point guard. He averaged 2.5 assists, 14.5 points per game, 3.5 boards at Pratt. Jay Alvarez, who comes in from Houston Christian, averaged 15.5 points a season ago for the Huskies. Stephen Byard played 19.5 minutes, 7.5 points, 4.5 boards for Alcorn State a season ago. Coming in from Chipotle College is Ife West Ingram, played scored 9 points per game, 2.2 rebounds, 2.4 assists. And then from Gulf Coast State is Andre Young, scored almost 14 points per game there. And then Aledan Butayeb from Miami-Dade Junior College, 10.5 points, 7.3 boards, and almost 2 blocks a game. TJ Weeks returns from last year's team, 30.5 minutes a game, 10 points, 6.3 boards, 1 assist, 1.2 steals per game. And then Tariq Ingram, who played 23 minutes and shot at 48.9% from the field during his time. He's a 6'9" forward. He comes back. Everybody else, a little bit of inexperience here. Ryder's a team that I think is going to take a slight step back. But in general, they only lose 3 starters, which is better than a lot of the other programs in the MAAC this year.
Yeah, Baggett's done a good job there. Last couple of years, finished 2nd and 3rd in league play. He's also won the league a couple other times, a bunch of second-place finishes. So I can't believe he's already been there 12 years. It's kind of hard to believe. But, yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that they're in that top tier, but I think they're right in that middle of the pack. They did lose a lot. But, I mean, they're going to be traditional MAAC team that's right there, 10-10 in league play, 11-9, maybe 12-8.
Yeah, they've had a top 2 offense the last 2 seasons. They returned 2 starters. I think they've got a high floor, but I don't think they have a high enough ceiling to compete for a title this specific season. Let's talk about
21-14 the last 2 years in league play, so they've been rolling in league.
For sure. Let's talk about Sacred Heart, the Pios, the Pioneers. Last year they finished 3rd in the NEC, and they lose everybody from that team. Like literally, not a joke. Kind of a joke. 30% of their minutes returned, but 13.5 points per game from Nico Gillette. That's gone. Also his 7.3 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals per game in 27 minutes. Alex Sobel, who played 26 minutes a season ago, 12.3 points, 7.4 boards. He's gone. He transferred out as well. Kyle McGee, 25.5 minutes, 9.8 points, 3.4 boards, 1.8 assists, transferred out. Brendan McGuire, 25.5 minutes a season ago, gone. Joey Riley, 28 minutes a season ago, 11.3 points, 2 assists, also out of here. Raheem Solomon, also out of eligibility. Mike Sixsmith, Tommaso Ferraresi, Chris Nana, and Daniel Bubil all transferred out looking for more opportunities. How could you ask for more opportunities when the entire starting 5 transferred out? I don't get it. But returning from this team a season ago, Aiden Carpenter, who averaged 9.7 points per game, Tanner Thomas, who averaged 10.8 points per game, 5.5 boards, over a steal a game. He shot at 44.4% from the field, can mix in a 3 every now and then as a 6'6" guard, 48.3% from deep, but doesn't shoot them with high volume. The biggest get, I think, was Bryce Johnson, who returns to Sacred Heart through the transfer portal after leaving for Northeastern for his senior season. He returns for a grad year back with the Pios. Played 22 minutes a season ago, 10.5 points, 1.5 assists in the why am I stumping on the CAA? So taking a step down in the league, I think he's going to be a big contributor. And then Amiri Stewart from D2 Wilmington University, 17.5 points, 4.5 boards, 3.5 assists, 2 steals per game. Shot at 43.3% from 3 and 53% from the field. I think they got some scoring through the transfer portal. They returned 2 efficient shooters from last year, where their roster, they lose their 5 starters, but 2 guys that are going to have an increase in minutes who played efficiently a season ago. The only question is at the center spot or just another forward here. I don't think they have it. That's a big hole that I have. They bring in 2 more JUCO scores in Keyshawn Miller, who played 18.8 or scored 18.8 points per game, 7 boards, 2 assists at Northwest Kansas Tech. And then Jaden Slaughter, 18 points per game, 6.5 boards, 4 assists at Koahama last season. But no center, no real impact player that has any kind of height here. I think this team is going to be a little bit weak on the glass. This is a team that I have in the bottom half. This, again, not a great program pedigree coming from the NEC, a little bit of a step up. I just think in a conference that has very minimal margins separating the middle of the pack, that this team might just not get some breaks this season, and I got them finishing in the bottom half.
Yeah, Anthony Latina headed into his 12th year. You just look at their success in the NEC. Last year was like their all-in year. Last year in the league, and they finished third, but it was 10-6. Year before that, 8-8, 6-10. I see them struggling. I think they're probably the worst team in this league with the transition of the roster, transition of league. It's hard to make a case for this team to be in the top half.
Yep, I agree. We move on to a team that I think should be considered to be in the top half is
Peacocks.
The St. Peter's Peacocks. That's where they've been recently. Last year they finished tied for third in the regular season, 12-8 in the MAAC, 19-14 overall. They were a 15 seed in the NCAA tournament last year, as they made a little bit of a run in the MAAC tournament, winning the thing, and then moving on to the big dance. They do not lose as much as a lot of other programs. 44.5% of their minutes return from last year. This was a team that had the best defensive efficiency a season ago. Held their opponents to a lowest field goal percentage in KenPom's defensive metric here. And I think that is the best foundation that you can have for a program. They lose a couple of scorers. Corey Washington, who put up 16 points per game, 6 boards, and Latrell Reed, who had 11.3 points, 4.5 boards, 4.5 assists. They both transferred out alongside Jaheim Tanksley, Umar Dahame, Elijah Wood, Michael Houge, and then Roy Clark ran out of eligibility. Coming back from a season ago, Brent Bland and Marcus Randolph in the backcourt both played over 20 minutes a season ago. And in the front court, Muhammad So played 22.6 minutes a season ago, 5.5 points, 5 boards. The interesting, I don't know what to make of this, but Bryce Eaton redshirted at Central Michigan last year and transfers in to St. Peter's. I've never seen him play, I got to be honest, but Jaquel Morris comes in from Miami, Ohio, shot at 64% in 14.5 minutes, 5.3 points, 4 rebounds per game last year. Like, those two MAAC gets are pretty solid. The third one here is Zakir Williamson, a redshirt junior who played 12 minutes a game, 4 points, 2.7 rebounds, and shot at 69.4%. I think all 3 of these MAAC transfer portal gets are going to be contributors this year. And I think it's going to be a solid defensive squad once again. I've said it. I'm writing down these little notes on every team that we're talking about. I've said it now for 5 teams. I think this is also a title contender, which just also shows you that, I mean, the margins between a lot of these teams is not much.
Yeah, and Quinnipiac won it at 15-5 last year. I think it could even be 14-6 this year, or maybe we even see a 13-7 win it with how crazy, and we think maybe the teams at the bottom are not even close to maybe that top 10. But yeah, I love the Peacocks. They came on strong. That defense carried them in March. 3 wins in 3 nights over Ryder, Quinnipiac, and Fairfield. And got back to the dance. I think this team is right there to win the league this year. Bringing back all that production, did a good job in the portal. Bashir Mason, year number 3, he was humming at Wagner at the end of his tenure there too. I think this Peacock trend's going up here for the Peacocks, in my opinion.
Yeah, you talked about returning a ton of production. Let's move on to a team that doesn't. 29.9% of the minutes return. the least experienced team entering the preseason, and they made a head coaching change after their 4-28 overall season, 3-17 in conference. Mac, what's your read on Jerry McNamara heading into the year?
I mean, I know why they hired him. It's an exciting hire. Bringing in Syracuse, great. Obviously, Siena being an upstate New York team, but I'm interested to see how he translates to running his own program. Sometimes you see the Duke guys, the Kentucky guys, I guess Calipari Kentucky guys, when they work for these programs that just get really good players, they don't really translate into really good head coaches. So McNamara, does he play 2-3 zone? Does he bring back that Boeheim zone? But you got to have the Jimmies and Joes to play that zone. He's got to get on the recruiting trail. I think it's going to be a tough first year for him at Siena. But, I mean, I'd love to see Siena. They have resources up there.
Yeah, I think they did pretty well in the transfer portal too.
Yeah.
And they've got some length. Like you said, that you need the Jimmies and Joes to play the zone. You need a little bit of length to play that zone. Major Freeman is the one that McNamara seems to be the highest on here. He's a junior from Spartanburg Methodist Junior College, 15.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, 4.5 assists a season ago. He also brings in from Xavier Reed Duharme, who's a redshirt freshman, 6'7" though. Justice Schultz, who's a junior from D2 Lockhaven, 20.5 points per game there a season ago, 4.3 boards, 4.7 assists, over 2 steals a game. And then Marcus Jackson comes in from Albany. He's Andre Jackson's brother from the first UConn national championship team. Played 22.5 minutes a season ago, 5.6 points per game and 4.8 boards. He seems like a little bit of a better shooter than Andre was. 56.8% from the field, 41.7% from deep. And then coming in from Syracuse is Peter Carey, a 6'11 redshirt sophomore. Miles Wilmuth comes in from Hofstra, redshirted last season, but played at Butler in 2022-23, only 5 minutes a game with the Bulldogs then. But look, I think the roster has top half talent in the conference, but I need to see it out of McNamara once. I think they could be in the mix to finish around 500. I have a little bit more faith in this roster than I do in a couple others, but I can't be too high on the squad.
I'm in agreement with you. I have him in my bottom tier.
All right.
I need to see McNamara as a head coach.
And that wraps up 13 little mini team previews here as we jump into our preseason MAAC basketball standings. And again, we're trying to predict this from the preseason. We're trying to predict the regular season winner, but we're also trying to just project how good the roster is going to be immediately, honestly, because we're looking to have action on these teams here in November, December. We bet every single night. Every single night, the College Basketball Experience has a live show previewing the next day's worth of games. And the MAAC gets a lot of our attention on a lot of the isolated slates. A lot of pressure going into our preseason rankings because we held ourselves like slaves on a couple of them last season ago. Like, we're talking about Niagara. We bet them against Notre Dame, and then they covered by a half point. And we were like, this team's for real. And then it was up and down. But what I will say is this conference is important when it comes to our predictions. Mac, are you ready?
Oh, yeah, let's do it. It's far away. 13. Sacred Heart.
Yeah, I think that's the easy pick. I'm going to go with Niagara, though.
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh, man, you put them all the way in the basement?
Yeah.
Oh, you're overthinking this. I can already tell.
This conference is all over the place. I suck with the MAAC, but I don't I don't like that roster full of transfer. I wasn't as high as that transfer full of roster or transfers on the roster
Snorkeler.
than I was on others.
You're not scuba diving with the MAAC?
No, hell no.
Number 12, I just alluded to it. I got Siena, the Saints. Need to see it from McNamara. I think they could. I think they could make a step, but I need to see it.
Okay. I have Sacred Heart there.
Okay. At number 11, I do think they take a step, but the roster's still not there. Give me the Jaspers of Manhattan.
Okay. I have Mount St. Mary's 11.
I had the Mount at 10. Year one of Donnie Lynn, baby.
I'm going to have Siena 10th.
Okay. At number 9, this is where I had the moving company. I got Ryder at number 9. I got them taking a little bit of step back this year. But this is this 3 through 9 are like they're all flip a coin.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I have Manhattan. That's the highest I could put them.
Number 8, I got my boys, Canisius.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same. I'm right in that same zip code, but I actually have Iona 8th.
Oh, the Tobin hate's gone too far. Too far.
Oh, last year I ranked them 10th.
Number 7, I told you, Niagara, right in the middle. That's what they do. Whether they got experience coming back or no experience, Greg Paulson will be right in the middle.
I got Canisius 7.
Okay. At number 6, I got Chris Casey and Fairfield taking a little bit of a step back, but I still like the trajectory of their program.
I have Ryder 6th.
Okay. Number 5, the Aqueduct, Quinnipiac. Told you, top tier. They're taking a step back, though.
I got Fairfield 5th.
Fairfield 5th. I'm on the Red Foxes at number 4. Love Coach Dunn there and the defensive side of the ball. I think they take a step here.
They remain
4th. Remain in the top 4. Yeah, it's not really a step. It's what they're expected to do. At number 3, I took Tobin Anderson and Iona. This is where I got Tobin. So Iona, I'm banking that they have a little bit of a bounce back, but I can't put them in the top tier yet.
I have the Peacocks. St. Peter's 3rd.
Okay. Number 2, I got the Warriors of Merrimack. I like I said, I like Coach Gallo. I don't think that they're going to win at year 1, but I think they're going to be right there.
Yeah, and I think this is a little bit more of a bolder pick. I like Merrimack at 2nd as well with you. Like we were high on them. I think they finished above 500 in the NEC their first year in D1. They finished, I think, 5th. They took a slight step up. Then they won the league in their 3rd year. They won the league in their 4th year. Look, I think that this program is just in an amazing spot, and they return a lot from last year's NEC conference winning team. So I got Merrimack 2nd as well.
And winning the league, I got Bashir Mason, year 3. I got the Peacocks flying high, winning the regular season, carrying that momentum that they found late last February and March. I like him this year to win the regular season MAAC.
I got Quinnipiac. When you return all 5 starters from a league title winning team in the regular season, I expect big things from you in the next year. So the entire starting 5, juniors, senior, grad seniors, I think that this team is really going to deliver this year. Again, this time they get into the dance. So give me either a first place banner in the regular season or a tournament banner. I'm going to predict them to do both, Mac. Who do you have winning the tournament this year?
What are you going to learn? You can't pick chalk in the MAAC.
And that is on my side.
If you want them to win the regular season, or if you want them to win the tourney, you can't pick them to win the regular season. That's the kiss of death. Tobin Anderson and the Iona Gaels are going dancing. Back to the
get
dance
out
for
of here.
Tobin Mania. Let's go, Gaels.
My sleeper, I think, has to be Merrimack.
Yeah, I guess we're both kind of sleeping on. I mean, I guess we're both buying in. I mean, the St. Peter's sleep. I don't think they're a sleeper. They're one of the
No.
favorites.
Yeah, they finished third last year.
Who'd you bust? Iona?
Bust is Iona. I have them ranked 8th. They were, what were they? I got to double check this actually because they didn't have a great finish last year. They were 7th. I can't pick them. They don't have the program standard right now. They can't be expected to finish in the top 3 this year or top 4 because it's 13 teams. So from last year's standings, my biggest drop is Niagara. They were tied for 3rd in the conference. I have them finishing last, so I'm going to go with Purple Eagles.
I guess mine's Quinnipiac. Expectations a little too high for me. I like the fade expectations in MAAC. Love what Tom Pecora did in year number 1, though. But yeah, a little bit of a setback for the Aqueduct.
All righty. That's going to wrap up today's MAAC preview. Coming up shortly, we'll have the Week 5 college football preview and picks episode from Colby Dant and Nick Dant and Patty C. So check that out. If you're here on YouTube, just head over, same channel, just one video down, I assume. They're going to be starting up here very shortly, previewing every single game that involves an FBS football team. They'll even talk FCS teams in this as well, but it'll be great. For the college basketball experience, we do TCE trims that are in a YouTube playlist currently. You can check out the coaches tour that MAAC has been doing, where he interviewed a couple of coaches from the MAAC here. That's also in a playlist alongside the college baseball experience, the FCS college football experience, the Big 12 college experience. And there is also more from SGPN here on YouTube or podcast platforms, something for NHL, NBA, MLB, or NFL that also covers a little bit of everything. The Sports Gambling Podcast. They talk NFL daily and also dip their toe into some of the biggest sporting events of each week, basically. MAAC, anything else that you want to say about the MAAC before we get out of here?
I can't wait for Friday nights and Sunday afternoons in the MAAC. Noah, are we doing trim after Colby and those guys tonight, or
we'll see? Let's talk about it after.
TBD.
All right,
TBD, yep. Everybody. Yep.
All righty, we're gonna get out of here. This has been the college basketball experience. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.